let's just go live and see what happens. Hello and welcome. So what I'm trying to do here today is expand your way of thinking. I'm not trying I'm not trying to change your mind or tell you that I'm right and you're wrong or anything like that. But what I want to do is introduce possible outcomes or possible ways that we can look at things that are happening in the world. So there's a few things we're going to be talking about. I guess I'll give kind of an introduction here. We're going to listen to a few things from the Globebusters show yesterday. And one of them that I want to talk about is the vacuum of space. And I don't believe that it's a vacuum at all. I believe that it's a medium of darkness. And if that doesn't make any sense to you, hopefully I can explain. Jaron here is going to be showing a clip from the recent Dragon cargo ship undocking, and it kind of gives an opportunity to show that they're not in a vacuum, and it's quite obvious that they're not in a vacuum. So that's one thing we'll talk about. But another thing after that we're going to talk about is David Weiss was talking on this same show a little bit after this. He was showing some of the landings of rockets. And I want to talk about that because, well, two reasons. One is I think it would be quite difficult for someone to say that landing rockets is fake if you actually saw it and if you experienced it yourself. If you went to Florida and watched one of these things land, it would be very difficult for you to go onto YouTube and tell people it's fake. So there's that. But the other part about it is that, do you guys believe that the devil, the Satan, the adversary, the liar, do you guys believe that he has, in the end times, do you believe that he has power to do to manifest physically and do miracles, great signs and wonders? Because that's what the Bible says, that he would be able to do miracles and the world would just be in awe of the amazing signs that he would do. This Antichrist or this son of perdition or this man of sin or that guy, okay? We need to look at this at least maybe a little bit more in detail and like I was saying at the beginning, expand our thinking, or at least the possibilities of things that we could be actually experiencing here that we might not be paying attention to if we just ignore them. So I'm going to be encouraging people. I'll say what David Weiss said. And I was trying to find this clip where he said it. It was in a recent interview he did. He mentioned that this is a spiritual war that we are in. And he's right. And that's why I want to kind of talk about the landing of rockets and satanic miracles that would be deceiving the world. But there would be a group of people in the world that were certainly not deceived. And from my point of view, it looks like those people just say that it's fake. They don't believe it, which is good. Don't believe it. But the rest of the world believes that it's a way to the future. So what is, this is the question I'm going to ask, and then we'll talk about the answer of it later. What is one thing that separates SpaceX from any other company or any other agency, government agency or space agency that has ever existed? There's one thing that SpaceX does that no one else has been able to do. And we'll talk about this answer, but that answer is that they send a rocket into orbit and they're able to land it safely and reuse it. So this separates SpaceX. It puts them in an entirely different category than any other rocket company because of the cost of a rocket. And when they can reuse it, they sure can do it a lot cheaper per launch or whatever. So let's listen to Jaron, though. Let's talk about, we're going to talk about the medium or the vacuum of space. So here we go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then you start looking for the cool transitions and stuff that like nobody even cares about.
I know.
Yeah, nobody cares a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
When I started editing, that's one thing I did. I started watching movies, and they don't put transitions in any of that stuff.
It's all
Every
quick
once in a
cuts.
while.
Most
Yep,
of it is
quick
quick cuts.
Yep.
Trying to get fancy. So look at this, how funny this is. So this thing's leaving, and watch the RCS thrusters right here. And even the girl that's announcing this laughs at it because I never seen anything like it. I was just dying last night. Watch when it starts squirting its jets. Because I thought it was supposed to like steer it, right? Look at this.
Oh,
Whoa.
man.
Squirt.
It's like a sprinkler, bro.
Why would you do that? It's supposed to be steering the craft.
Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. But it's like lights from a music festival.
It's like a club. Listen to her again. She laughs at it much. That's the funniest thing I've ever seen. Like, that's not steering. That'd be like driving down the freeway, jerking your wheel left and right as much as you could.
So those thruster has much power than the vacuum of space. I mean, it's still being spread like a cone instead of being completely spread.
Okay, so Iru's saying something important there. Okay, so what this is the Dragon capsule in quote-unquote space, right? Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong screen and I have my my logo pasted across the screen. I'm sorry about that. We'll get rid of that if we can. Sorry about that. You might be able to see a little better without that. Okay. Here we go. I want to go back just a little and listen to what Iru says when he talks about the vacuum of space. Let's see. Let's go back to. Here we go.
She laughs at it much. That's the funniest thing I've ever seen. Like, that's not steering. That'd be like driving down the freeway, jerking your wheel left and right as much as you could.
So those thruster has much power than the vacuum of space. I mean, it's still being spread like a cone instead of being completely spread, 180 degrees immediately.
Okay, so do you hear what Iru was saying there? He said it's being spread like a cone. And which it is. We can see right on the screen here. I think you can see my mouse, yeah. See how it's going? It's there. Each thruster is actually pointed in a certain direction, and that's how they orient the vehicle, right? So they, this requires a medium, guys. You can't do this in a vacuum. This is if we're gonna talk about science or if we're gonna adhere to the physics that we understand on this world that we live in. Having a vacuum and something in the vacuum with an RCS thruster shooting out one way. I know they have a theory that the reason why their vehicle moves after they shoot that thruster is because of the law. What is it? I don't know what it is, but every action there's a equal and opposite reaction. So like if you were on a flying carpet, hypothetically, if you're on a flying carpet and you were to have a gun, like a shotgun, and you were to shoot the shotgun, in theory, the bullet would go one way, and you and the flying carpet and the gun would actually go the opposite way because there's an equal and opposite reaction. So that's the concept that SpaceX and the space agencies would tell you, that they're not actually pushing against something, they're they're basically sending something out, which pushes themselves back. But so that's the theory. But what I'm trying to say is that theory doesn't make any sense. If there's a vacuum, if there's a place of nothing and you shoot a RCS thruster into it, who says that that law applies, that equal and opposite reaction happens? How would you test it? Well, you can test it in space, in the vacuum of space. Well, you're assuming it's a vacuum. It's not a vacuum. It's a medium. And so I'm not saying I know what this medium is or anything about it, but I do know that as we watch these thrusters, they are not dissipating or whatever you want to, I don't know the right words. They should be going in, like, they shouldn't even be shooting in a direction, because the vacuum, you'd think that the gas would expand immediately all around where the gas is coming out. But let's listen a little bit more here.
Right. So Ear's got a good point. So this thing's coming out. Why wouldn't it go out this way? Hope you can't see my mouse there.
Yeah.
It should go immediately, just everywhere.
Immediately, of course.
Not in a
I mean-
straight stream like this. What's keeping that coherent?
Yeah, free expansion of gas in
Yeah,
a vacuum
in your
produces
ass.
zero work. Therefore, that thing ain't going nowhere.
Well, I want to know, where is this supposed to be at? The precision of whatever's coming out of here is incredible in a vacuum. I'm going to need to get some notes
and
here.
we don't see this on the Apollo mission, for example.
No, nothing like that. Okay, listen to her laugh here. She comes on.
We're currently seeing camera views of Department 1. You can see those thrusters firing.
Why would you do that? Like,
Yeah, we can.
if
Man,
you're
that
supposed to
thing
go a
should be
little
all
bit
over
left,
the place.
you're supposed to go a little bit right, then you just squirt once. You don't need to.
And notice how the craft does not move at all. All this thrusting going on, and there's
No,
craft just
No, that,
Okay, so I'm just gonna pause it there, but I think, okay, you know how if you watch Globebusters at all, they talk about the ether. They talk about the ether and like that it's in motion, like it's rotating, and we happen to look up. Hey, Tony, what's up? And Dwayne Glore, good to see you guys. When we look up at the stars, they're always moving. That's a fact. Okay? Some people say they appear to move because or they appear to rotate because we're rotating. And that's just nonsensical, because we're not rotating. If you were rotating, you'd probably know. You'd probably be able to tell if you were on a merry-go-round, but we're not. We're on the earth that's still and solid and firm all the time. For your whole life, your foundation of your house has been there the whole time since it was dug, in the same spot. Okay, the earth doesn't move. But the medium or the darkness, whatever you want to call it, the space, it does move. It rotates in a circle, in the north around Polaris and in the south around whatever point of axis that's called, the Southern Cross or whatever you want to call it. This whole sky we live under is turning one direction, and it does it about 15 degrees per hour, just like the sun is about 15 degrees per hour. Okay, these are in motion. The earth is not. But when they talk about the vacuum of space, if we look at the Bible, how that describes it, it calls it waters. It says that it's waters. And it also says that it's dark waters and darkness. The darkness upon the face of the deep. So, darkness is not, this is my thoughts. Darkness is not simply the absence of light. Darkness is something just like light is, but it's dark. Okay, like if you have a light in the room, the darkness goes away, and it's because the light's there. But as you remove the light, why does science just assume that it's black, that it's dark? Why wouldn't it be pink? Why wouldn't it, when you pull the light away, why wouldn't it be pink instead of dark? Because there's a such thing as darkness, okay? And it comes in, it manifests where light isn't. So it's always either dark or light. Like they almost like light is a medium, but I'm not saying like a medium. Hey, wow, Deborium's here. Wow, it's been a long time. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. So what I'm saying is that when we think of darkness or the night sky, literally the night sky where the stars are, I think that they're in a medium, and that's the best word I can come up with. They're in a substance, or like air is a medium, or water, like the oceans, water is a medium, kind of like that. But it's one that we might not know everything about. But so that is why I think these RCS thrusters work the way they do, and that's why I think that rocket engines work the way they do, and thrust works where there's supposedly a vacuum. It's not a vacuum. And the idea of a vacuum doesn't even exist anyway. A near vacuum, or almost no air, but or no particles or molecules or whatever, but they're always there. So there's no such thing as a vacuum. You can't have a vacuum. But anyway, so let's skip forward. We're going to change subjects now. That's what I wanted to say about the darkness medium. See, and that's the thing, is we call it space, we call it orbit, we call it the solar system. But what did they call it in the Bible? Like right in the beginning of the Bible, what's it called? It's called darkness. Okay? God called the night darkness. You know how he named things, or he called them certain things. He called the firmament heaven. So we know that, right? That the firmament is heaven, because God called the firmament heaven. Well, he also called the light day, and he called the darkness night. Okay? So when you're reading in the Bible and you hear it talking about darkness, it's talking about the night. And it's also talking about not just on the earth, because there's a place of darkness above the earth, and we're talking about it right now, space, whatever you want to call it. In the second verse in your Bible, it says, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Those waters above, there's dark waters above, and God's above those dark waters. So maybe that means God is beyond what we consider to be the universe. I don't know. Or I guess the solar system or whatever. I couldn't tell you. But I do know that he called darkness night, and if you want to go find the night, you have to go outside and look up, okay? That's how we get night, when the sun goes away and all there is stars, or maybe the moon. That's called night, and that's where darkness is. I'm not trying to be too repetitive here, but I think people just need to think about that in a slightly different way. If we're going to assume that darkness is just there because there's no lights, I don't know. Anyway, let's skip forward to David Weiss. David Weiss has some interesting things to say about the landing of rockets. Okay, here we go.
Okay, David, whenever you're ready.
All right, let me share screen. Oh, where is it? Here it is. All right, you can see that, right?
Yep, we gotcha.
All right, so this is just the first one. This, they put the legs down at the last second, smoke out of nowhere. Like, where did that
Okay, I just got to point out that this video, that this landing here, this is taken from a drone, which will come up in a minute because they say they never use drones. Like, this is from a drone. If you watch the whole video, you can watch the drone actually flying backwards away from it as it's filming. But Dwayne Glower says, never thought about that before. If retros have effect, there must be some sort of drag. And I agree with that 100%. And also, if the gases come out of the thruster in a direction, and they actually go in that direction, rather than every direction, then there's a medium. There's some sort of drag there. There's something, because if it was a vacuum, it would just immediately expand into the vacuum, right? So I think it is like a vacuum. I think it's similar to a vacuum. I mean, like, as we watch a rocket launch, you can watch the exhaust from it change as it gets higher and higher because the air gets thinner and thinner. Something is changing. The air is getting thinner. But what I'm saying is, like William Shatner, when he went on that ride up to whatever, when they slingshot on that Blue Origin thing, he was talking about how it was, you have the light from the earth and it's blue and it's like bright, but as you go up, it's like boom, all of a sudden you're in darkness and you're literally in a black place, a place that's blackness all around you. And it's, you look down and you see the light from the earth or whatever, but the place you're in is darkness. And it was, William Shatner really was affected by that. He was quite, he was saying that. Mark Yeager says, you should watch Uncommon Ground. They show the model of the firmament and where the Most High resides. Yes, that is a good show. Although I think that those guys have a certain thing that they're not noticing, and I don't know why, because they know a lot of the Apocrypha and the scriptures. And let me put it this way: the bottomless pit, they think it's like somewhere where they don't know. They don't, like, I'm telling you that there is a bottomless pit, and it's called low Earth orbit, or it's called the solar system. Everything in the solar system is perpetually falling into darkness, into an abyss. So, and actually in the second verse of the Bible, it explains that there's darkness upon the face of the deep. And that word deep, that means abyss. So there's darkness upon the face of the abyss, okay? But yeah, Mark Yeager, that's a good channel. I watch them all the time. I love them guys. Wes Blaze and Sean Griffin, definitely. And welcome, Disciple of the Messiah, Zilran Rocha, Cassandra Rusque, Paul Revere, 1776, Mark Yeager, Captain Caveman, Deborium, Tony's Coffee House, Dwayne Glower. Did I see all you guys? I think I did. Good to see you guys. Thank you for hanging out. All right, let's listen to David Weiss again. Oops, wrong play button. Here we go.
Dusty, dirty thing. Did you see the piece of debris going over the left? Can you see my mouse?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some smoke on demand.
Yeah. So what is that? I mean,
It's like an After Effects filter.
yeah, that is just ridiculous. And
Okay, what that is, it's called dust. The landing pad sits there for months and months with nothing happening on it. And then when a rocket lands, all that dust sitting on there gets kicked up. That's probably all that is.
And then the stability issue. Think about the stability. I mean, you
about
watch
40 seconds away or 30 seconds away from that entry burn on the first stage.
All right. So now imagine this. This is, look at the clouds on the left here. They're higher than any airplane flies, right? Especially because we can see the curve of the Earth.
Of our first stage, as it
Imagine dropping a friggin' car out of an airplane from that height. How long?
Okay, this is good. Listen really carefully to what he's saying. He's talking about how fast it's going towards the ground.
How long would it take to hit the ground? This thing's coming down, and those milk crates are steering it and landing it on a ship in the middle of the ocean. And here's another thing. If you've ever been out in the ocean, it is rare that the ocean is calm, that there's not swells or massive waves. But always they have this perfect raft sitting there, not rocking back and forth.
Yep, like it's in the middle of a lake or something.
It's not always like that. a lot of times the waves are splashing up over the thing because there's huge waves. But that's the size of a football field too, or bigger. It's really big. But they're going to talk about when it lands, like how it's able to stay there. Well, we'll get into it.
Right, and then again, bam, the cutout. It just
It's secret. The position of the bark is secret, or
I don't know. I've
right
never seen him say where it is.
Yeah, so
No,
this is another one, and then watch on the right. They always cut back and forth. I think they do this on purpose. We got a nice curved earth here, and then it'll cut to the other side. Well, it's going to switch now.
Drone ship coming into view.
And there's always something like the camera cuts out because of the vibrations on the ship, on the drone ship. Like where, like that could be somebody holding it. Like
Yeah, we are.
model. Someone's holding it at the top, right off camera, and just putting it down with their arm.
Come on, man. We are in the age of drones. Everything is filmed by drones, and everything. You know, you get married, a drone is filming around your car when you arrive to the church, whatever. These
So-
guys never use nothing.
Right, and the ship.
Okay, so that was why I pointed out that the first video he showed was taken from a drone. But Mel Gig is here. Welcome, Mel Gig. Good to see you. Mel Gig says the sea's calm because they don't launch if it isn't. Like if all the conditions aren't correct, they're not going to send this expensive rocket out there to try to launch or to land. Now, actually, Mel Gig, since you're here, I'm going to use the opportunity to use your perspective and your experience where you are. And if you don't mind, I would love for you to maybe mention in the comments whereabouts it is that you live, because that there's something that Mel Gig has learned to do, and that is to watch a SpaceX launch like Starlink. And Mel Gig will be waiting where he lives in the UK, I think. I'm not sure. He'll be waiting where he lives because the orbit when they launch goes right over his area often, and he films it. And so when people talk about there's no footage of satellites and this kind of stuff, you got to go to Mel Gig's channel, and we probably will. He's in Oxfordshire, England. Thank you, Mel. So Mel and I have, we have different perspectives on or different ideas about things, but Mel has come to my channel for many years. I think I mean it's been at least 3 or 4 years, and I've gone to his channel. Same thing. He's really good at filming these things. He's filmed the Dragon capsule. Like I think it's on the first orbit, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mel. But so what I'm saying is we live in a world that we're all over the world. There's people, in England that are in this stream right now, and there's people that are in Australia that come to my stream, and people all over the world. And so if we want to track a satellite, it's not that difficult to do with a telescope or a good camera. So that's something that comes up too. But so let's listen to this a little more. There's some good things we need to hear.
Vibrates so much that the camera cuts out, but the engine on the rocket doesn't have any vibrations and doesn't cut out.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
What about a view from a mile away? How about a view from a mile away or 2 miles away?
They have a view of the Falcon Heavy center booster that crashed in the first time they ever launched Falcon Heavy. They have a video from like 3 miles or 2 miles away of it crashing out at sea. So there is some sort of recovery ship, or there is a ship waiting with people on it that's, quite a few miles away, I'm sure, but they've filmed it from there and shared it. So there's a lot of things that get said by the Globebusters that might not be searched out very well. Oops.
Karen said there would be a ship there watching.
I mean, look at how nice it is on the ocean. Why aren't there just regular people off on the horizon?
There's not regular people, Karen, because they're like the ocean is vast. They're hundreds of miles out in the ocean. I don't know, 500 miles out. Actually, I think they talk about that in a minute. So Melgig says 20 minutes after launch, they pass overhead over England, Oxfordshire, England, and he films them. And actually, you just filmed one, like a clump of them. They were still like, they almost look like one thing, but we're going to actually go to Melgig's channel and watch that in a little bit. And we'll probably cruise around and check out some of your other videos of Starlink and some of those things. Melgig also has footage of geostationary satellites from a camera that you can see from the ground. Now, I've never been able to do that myself. My cameras that I have, I haven't been able to do that. Mel's really good with a camera, like really good. Let's see. Zilrin says, those landing surfaces look pretty clean. They must have some sort of chemical that helps stop the thrust. Or the rust? I'm just kidding. Not sure exactly what you mean, but let's check this out.
At least.
Yeah, what do we got to do to get?
What
do we got to do to get the location? We got to take the Jesuit oath to get the location of this.
That's
thing?
all.
No, you need to take a look at the partner of the clouds.
It gets worse. We got concave again.
Oh yeah, did you guys see the concave Earth there? That's great. SpaceX shows it all the time.
And then back and forth, concave. So look how high they are. Just think how high that is. We don't fly that high when we're in airplanes. How fast has this thing have to do to get to the ground in the amount of time that they show? It's
I just checked. It's 800 miles is how far off the shore it is. So it is far.
That first stage.
That's pretty far.
That's
Yeah.
really
Wow,
far.
how convenient.
Hold on, 800 miles.
800 miles?
There's
That's what
no
they said.
chance
Wow.
that the conditions of the sea aren't going to pick up at some point and knock that thing over. How do you carry a top-heavy, tall, thing?
800.
Okay, David, it's not top heavy at all. It looks really tall, and it's structurally strong enough to go to launch, but when there's no fuel in it, it weighs almost nothing at the top. Literally, all the weight is at the bottom in the legs and in the engines, and the top is like all it is a metal. It's like a pop can, literally, probably about this. Proportionally the same as a pop can, very close to it anyway. You can fill a pop can with liquid and it won't collapse. That's about how strong a rocket is. It's just strong enough to hold up the tanks that hold the fuel and the pressure, or the lift, the G-forces from being lifted. So it's not top heavy at all. So basically, if they landed, and they still have like when there's waves, they'll still have, it will try to tip over, but they have something, I think they call it the Optigrab or something like that. It's like a machine that is super heavy that sits on this deck, and when the rocket lands, this machine goes out and goes kind of underneath it. I'm sure they do this like remote control or something. It goes underneath it and it fastens on to certain parts of it so that it can't fall over. It can still tip, and like, cause the wind, I'm sure there's, it gets windy out there too. I'm sure that'll try to push it over, but it's definitely not top heavy at all.
How do they stop it from falling over?
Okay, I feel like this is even more of a reason for them to have their like recovery ships out there. 800 freaking miles and no recovery ship? That's a joke. Come on.
Well,
The military would never operate like
They
that.
have a recovery
Never.
ship.
furthest drone ship position is 1239 kilometers downrange. Normal is 675. What's 675 kilometers? Probably 400 miles.
Yep.
Again, convex, concave.
Concave.
And no one ever addresses why this tinfoil is rippling.
A successful landing burn startup.
Yeah, I've never understood that either, unless it's
The mice running around underneath it.
Just one Merlin engine in preparation for landing on
And also, it goes up so high, the Earth is spinning. We know that there's heavy winds up there, 100, 200 mile an hour at some times. How the hell does this find its way back to that ship? And
It's simple, Dave. You have a DJI what is it called? Mavic. I can't even remember what my drone is called. I think Dave has the same one. But when you hit that return to home button, how does the drone find that spot where you launched from? It's just using like GPS or whatever. It's just using, it's triangulate. It's using what a lot of people think are satellites, but it's just the cell towers or whatever around you. They can use it to precisely triangulate any spot on the ground. So it's the same. I mean, it's obviously more advanced because it's doing different things than a little 4-prop drone, but it's doing the same thing that your return to home button is doing essentially.
Sometimes they do it at nighttime. They can't land a friggin' Harrier jump jet at nighttime. That has 4 stabilizing, fans. I mean, maybe they can, but not easily. But this is all landing without anybody there. No one, does that drone ship drive it back by itself, or is there another ship out there that a tugboat that pulls it in?
Paul Revere said 1776 says it only seems possible if the rocket was some type of balloon and the weight allows it to settle down while the upper half is held up by the weightless upper half. Just trying to figure out how it can land in reverse. It'll use 3 engines to slow itself down, but it will use a single engine in the center, like the center engine, as it's getting to the ground. It would tip over, right? But it's on a gimbal. So if it starts to tip, the engine gimbals to correct that tip. I mean, this technology, Wernher von Braun was using this way back when they were building rockets for Hitler. That's the gimbal. So basically, it's just if the rocket tries to tip one way, the engine is in real time changing that so that it really never gets to tip over. And that's a 360-degree gimbal. So it's any direction that it... And then they also have those RCS thrusters, which in the medium of air work quite well. They will push you sideways quite hard. So they use those to also to help, and we can see that. So that was a good comment, though.
No, supposedly it's an autonomous spaceport drone ship operating on the Pacific Ocean.
And 100 miles.
Vandenberg Air Force Base.
And it travels 800 miles back to shore with that thing standing on it. Yeah, right.
800 miles away, and the
I don't think so, Tim.
A tiny wobble would knock it over.
Yeah, and 800. That means it can't travel faster than what? 10 miles an hour.
That's fast.
Okay, so excuse me. That is generally what I wanted to show, and there's a reason. When I'm talking about expanding our way of thinking about these things, I'm seeing a story that I've read before, and I'm seeing it happen. Okay, so the people who are, I'm just going to say, flat earthers, right? They say this is fake. This is fake. Okay, obviously no one's really out in the ocean to watch this happen, so they could be just making it up, right? But there's actually a different kind of launch that they do that we've seen, where they have it, instead of it doing just that ballistic trajectory and landing in the ocean, it does what it's called a boost back burn, and the booster, the part that lands, it actually turns around after it separates, and it goes back towards the towards the launch pad, and it lands over towards the launch pad. They need more fuel to do that, obviously, but on some of the launches they can do that, so they do, because it obviously is a big pain in the butt to have a ship and wait 15 days or however long to get the rocket back. But yeah, they come into port and people film it. We'll be looking at that also in a little bit here. But I want to show you something. So basically, I'm just trying to, and I don't know why. I really have David Weiss in mind when I'm thinking about this, because I know that he has eyes to see. I don't know how to put it to words. He sees some things very clearly, like more clearly than I think anyone does. Some of the things that the way he says some of the things he says, he has a grasp on this spiritual war, and like you might say, he's like a general, or do you know what I mean? Like if it was a military thing, he would be like a general, or like a someone that has great knowledge about the battle. So what I have him in mind, and I, for a long time, I always have, just because I think he sees some of these things. But I want to point this out because I don't think he sees this one. Okay, the landing of the rockets is a deception. Okay, it's a lie. But keep in mind that this is a spiritual battle. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at this right here, and this will explain, hopefully, the story I'm seeing. So all of this, anytime you say the beasts in Revelation or something, it goes to this weird place where everyone's like, it's the Pope, and it's like everyone says all this nonsensical stuff. Okay, this is a very specific thing that John sees happen, and it isn't the Pope, and it isn't the Vatican, it isn't the Jesuits, it isn't the Illuminati. There's nothing that describes, or that John describes, that's like, if just listen to what this says, okay? Well, first of all, this verse right here is the one that, yeah, okay. I was making sure that you guys have the same page. Okay. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Okay. Now that's something that I have talked about a lot, and that doesn't mean that that's a landing rocket, but it does say John did see whatever this beast was. He saw it making fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. So when we're looking at a landing rocket with fire coming down out of it, literally down towards the earth, and men see it, I mean, there's been a lot of people in Florida that have seen this. Not when it's out at sea, but I'm talking about when it lands at the launch, or whatever they call it, I don't remember. Landing site, whatever. It's right in Cape Canaveral there, but which we'll actually look at a little bit. But this verse, he says that he sees fire, something making fire come down from the sky. Okay. And it says this beast that makes fire come down from the sky. Well, first it came up from the earth. It says coming up out of the earth. Is that what a rocket launch? This could be describing a rocket launch. I'm not saying that I know it is. But look, it says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. And he had 2 horns like a lamb. It's a 2-stage rocket. I don't know. The top of it's always shaped conical. It's always shaped like a horn of some sort. So, I mean, keep your mind open to these things. And he spake as a dragon. SpaceX Dragon, they launched, that's what we were watching when Jaron was showing the RCS thrusters. That's the Dragon capsule. That's the Dragon, okay? I don't know. I didn't name it. That's the SpaceX Dragon, okay? So this beast that came up out of the earth that speaks like a dragon, that's the one that did great wonders. Okay? Keep this in mind. Great wonders. So that he makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. But look what it says here. This is why I think it's important that we slow down on the fake rocket idea, the fake landing idea. It's not that it's fake, guys. Look what it says here. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth, by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. Miracles, guys. So this beast coming up out of the earth can do miracles. It's a miracle being performed. And there's people in this world that have overcome this beast. And I'll just use David Weiss as the example. He's certainly overcome this beast. He tells people it's fake. And so does, Bob, and almost every flat earther says it's fake. So they're not being deceived by this beast or his miracles. They're telling other people it's fake. Almost as if they're trying to get people to stop being deceived. Do you guys see the picture that I'm seeing? I hope you do. Because if there was a miracle being performed, why would Satan perform that, or the Antichrist or whatever? Who owns SpaceX? Elon Musk. He does a lot of things that just seem to be exactly what is in this story too. The mark of the beast, and he's got Neuralink brain chip thing that they're going to be putting in a human by the end of the year, they hope. Like this kind of stuff. It's right. He says you'll be able to heal the blind and the deaf and make paraplegics walk. There's a lot of things happening. Okay, I'm going to address real quick. I'm going to go to the chat here because there was a few comments I wanted to read. Melgig says it has to be a suicide burn, which is why it comes in so fast. That single engine has more thrust that the rocket weighs when it's landing, unlike Blue Origin and soon-to-fly Starship, which hover. Well, and the Blue Origin, I just have to mention that they've never been to space. So I guess they've been high in the sky, but they've never even come close to reaching orbital velocity. They go at the most 3,000 or 4,000 miles an hour. And the SpaceX Falcon 9 is going that fast, just maybe 2 minutes into the launch, and then they keep going for a long time. So I'm not sure what you were saying there, but yeah, the rocket hardly weighs anything when it's coming back. Or I mean, it's still a heavy machine, I don't know, 20 tons or something, but when it launches, it's much heavier. And we could probably Google all that information, but okay. So then there was, I think above that, Tony had a question. Where was that? Tony says, "Can you talk about what is in payloads?" They're always something different. Sometimes the payload is Dragon, and sometimes often it's Starlink, which is just a bunch of satellites that are kind of strapped together with a zip tie type of idea. And then they cut the zip tie, if I can use that analogy. But they're launching satellites for lots of different companies, and they have something called rideshare, where they try to fill that nose cone or whatever with as many satellite deals from anyone that they can, because that's how they make their money. So let's see. I like what Ziller and Rocha says. These rockets aren't fake. They are leaving Earth and coming back, whether some believe it or not. And I have to agree with that 100%. I have to. And Melgig says, Artemis 1, which may launch next week, will be fascinating, as amateur astronomers like myself should be able to image it on the way to the moon. Please do, Mel. That would be awesome. That'd be awesome. On the 28th, I think, or 29th, it's supposed to launch. Now that gets into another thing that I see happening in this story in the Bible, is when you see armies compassed around Jerusalem, that's what I see. This Artemis rocket, whatever it's the SLS, if it makes it into orbit, that's going to be the largest rocket that's ever made it into orbit. And like probably right after that, when Starship does its orbital launch, that'll be by far the largest rocket, even way bigger than SLS. So these armies, and what I'm talking about is Jerusalem. The Jerusalem I'm thinking of is the one that God said is in the sky. He said there's his kingdom's there, and he's going to bring it down onto the earth. It's going to bring it down to the earth. And before that happens, there's going to be all these nations and kings in the earth trying to fight with it. So that's just what I see this as. And I know, Melgig, I know you think it's a good thing, but that is not a good future to go. That place of darkness is not, there's nothing to offer anyone there. It's actually a place where there's only death. It's dead things, and there's no life there. And it's an abyss of darkness. So that's, I'm just saying, be careful there. Thank you guys for all your comments, by the way. I like these comments. Moomin Rider, welcome. Cassandra Risque, that's right. I do believe he is up there above us for sure. Me too. I know he is. And actually, it says somewhere in Psalms, it says, lift your eyes on high and behold who created all these things. So when we look up, we can see God. We can see his kingdom. So when we see, I get this from the book of Enoch, chapter 71, but when we look up at Polaris, at the North Star, of course we're just looking at a star, right? But if you go up there, if you were to go up there, if some of the prophets were taken up there, like in the spirit, there's a throne there and a house there, and it's the abode of the Most High God. It's his dominion. So, and all the angels circle him. So all those stars that are circling Polaris, those aren't balls of burning gas. They're angels. So that's where we get into belief. That's what I believe. Other people might believe something else. Like, I know Mel might not believe that, but I'm not trying to to tell anyone what Mel believes. That's not my. I am not in the business of describing what other people's beliefs are. I try not to anyway. But when people do make it public, like David Weiss, he believes that these rockets are fake. That's fine. But what I really like about what David Weiss is aware of is that he's aware that all this debate and this kind of subjects that we're talking about are being talked about because there is a spiritual battle happening, spiritual warfare. And so I think that's one thing that I love about David Weiss, is that he's aware of these things. And so I think talking about him, these ideas back and forth, we can only learn. We don't have to believe something that's false. So let's look at this though. For all the people over at Globebusters, this channel is called Lab Padre, and I'm gonna play without sound. I'm gonna play just some bunch of footage that they have. This is like a weekly update that they're doing. We'll just let this play here while we're talking. So Mel Gig says, I disagree with you about stars, Joe. That's fine, Mel. I appreciate our YouTube friendship either way. And we'll be going to your channel right after this to look at some of these things. So at the Starbase, okay, they got their fairings back from one of the launches. So they actually take a ship all the way out there to get the fairings. That's how expensive they are. And so this footage we're going to be seeing, some of it is in Boca Chica, Texas. And like all of this, these are quite large sections of Starship. And there's Starship sitting on its launch mount. Now, they built a launch mount in Cape Canaveral, or they're building it in Cape Canaveral. If anyone is interested, we'll see some footage of all that, too. So, at Kennedy Space Center, which is a NASA facility or whatever, launch place, they're building all these launch towers, and they're building huge buildings for SpaceX. So that's interesting, too. Government-owned land is being, borrowed or given to SpaceX? How does that work? USG government, how does that work? Really? And also, NASA has given SpaceX money. Oh, let me pause that. Let's go back to that. That was one of the boosters coming back into port. See, it's sitting on a ship still. And what they'll do is they'll pick it up with a crane. Do you see these guys down here? How small they are? That's a big rocket. But they'll pick it up with a crane, and then they have a way to fold these legs back up and lock them back into place. And then they'll put it on a truck and drive it back to be refurbished or whatever. Nimrod Paul has a good question. Are the rockets getting through the firmament? Well, that's, I can give you my opinion. I clearly don't know. But I would say that they are, because they're going into that place we call darkness. They're going into space, right? Yeah, space. Space. It's not, okay, it's the sides of the pit. Now, this is someone earlier, I can't remember the name, Mark, I think it was, mentioned Uncommon Ground on YouTube here with West Blaze. There's one interesting thing. They're against this thought. Like, they just say, no, you're wrong. Because they think that hell is inside of the earth. And I'm like, well, it's in the heart of the earth. But it's not physical. Like, when your grave is in the heart of the earth. We go into the dirt. Like, that's what we do as people. We bury people 6 feet deep or whatever. So when we die, we go into the earth and we go in a grave. But our spirit goes somewhere else, and it's not in the earth. The abyss is above the earth, outer darkness, where there be weeping and gnashing of teeth. There's Sheol, and I'm not saying this just out of my mouth. We could go to several apocryphal books that just say it. They like in the Ascension of Isaiah, he says, and we ascended up to the firmament, and there I saw Samuel and his hosts, and the angels of Satan were envying one another. So he just says they're in the firmament, straight up. That's what the firmament is, filled with the ruler of this world, okay? Just the word cosmos, cosmic, okay? That word, what does that word mean? The ruler of this world. And actually, they said that on Uncommon Ground. Look at that. There's SLS. That's on 39B. But did you see all these towers? A lot of this is brand new. So you see that? That's at Cape Canaveral, you guys. See this one here where the crane is? This is for Starship. This is for SpaceX Dragon. Right here, 39A. This is SLS. Do you guys see armies compassed around New Jerusalem? Do you see people trying to ascend above the heights of the clouds and be like the Most High? That's what Lucifer wants to do. So, I'm just saying, to me, there's two sides to this. There's the side of righteousness, and there's the side of Lucifer. You can choose to be on either team. I mean, do you believe God's in the sky, or do you believe you're going to go up there in a rocket? Something to think about. So let's see here. There was I didn't really finish Nimrod Paul's question there. Are the rockets getting through the firmament? That was something that I said. It actually was on Back to the Covenants channel. We did a video with Wes Blaze as the guest, and of course I enjoyed that. That was a good video. But I was saying something in the chat. I don't remember exactly what it was, but about what was it? Because Wes actually commented in the chat. Oh, I said in Revelation, because people say nobody gets through the firmament, and I put in there, well, be careful, because in Revelation, the Gentiles, it says it was given to the Gentiles to tread the holy city underfoot for 42 months. And Wes commented in the chat, oh, that's talking about the earthly Jerusalem. And I disagree with that. He said, rise and measure the temple of God. He's talking about the New Jerusalem. That's what he's talking about. But so it just seems to me that when someone, and I'm not picking on Wes, I'm just saying when someone has a point of view that they feel it's right, then even the scriptures, or like I point out, the Apocrypha, the vision of St. Paul, he says, and I looked back upon the firmament, and in the same place I saw power that deceives and draws down to itself the hearts of men, and the spirit of fornication, and the spirit of insolence, and the spirit of madness. And okay, so he saw all these evil spirits in the firmament. Paul did, when he went up to the third heaven, and he described it in the vision of St. Paul. Where else? There's several books that just straight up say, or I mean, that it's that the Satan's angels are there. I mean, even in Revelation 12, they're kicked out of heaven. I mean, doesn't that mean they're in heaven? If they're kicked out of heaven down to the earth? I mean, what does it say? Let's actually look at that really quick. Let's look at that. Might take a second. My computer's usually slow. It's talking about heaven, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven. So then, look at verse 3. There appeared a great wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon. Did you guys see the thumbnail for this video? Yeah, that's a program SpaceX had with that little capsule. That's what that capsule was designed for, is a thing called Red Dragon, to go to Mars. It was like actually, NASA was even in on that. It never happened, but what I'm saying is that vehicle was designed, and it was called Red Dragon, like at the very beginning. So, right here, behold a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, 7 crowns upon his heads. You know what? That's interesting. The dragon capsule, the Crew Dragon, the Red Dragon, that can have 7 passengers. Just so you know, 7 astronauts, whatever. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. Okay, so then look at, there's war in heaven. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. And the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. That means they were in heaven. Okay, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. How can they be cast out into the earth from heaven if they were never in heaven, if that wasn't there where they were to begin with? So that's I don't know. I've been in the background. I've been working on a video. It's hard to work on a video. Jaron actually said this in their live stream on Glowbusters yesterday, and he's right on. To do a live stream, you can cover all the same information and do it, I think, just almost as efficiently as you can making a video, but it takes like close to 10 times as much time to produce a video, or to make a video and put the information in it and find it. It's time consuming. So you might see me doing more live streams than I usually do when I want to talk about this stuff, because it is very difficult, like to make a movie or documentary or something like that type of video. I've made some and they take forever. I've spent days on videos before. But anyway, so this war in heaven, yeah, it takes place in heaven. I just want you to know that it's in heaven. So there's another thing I want to show you. I don't want to show you this, but I'm going to. I just saw this. This was uploaded, August 16th, so about less than a week ago. Man, this is just a sad video. It's 2 minutes, 45 seconds. I'm not gonna pause it. We're gonna watch the whole thing, and then I don't even think I'll have to talk about it, but you guys will get my drift here. Then we're gonna go to Mel's channel after that.
It was the perfect night, a million stars in the sky. Perfect for a future astronaut like me. Count me down. 3, 2, 1. Blast off!
I'm Delta V Valmont. I'm 4. My mom's Kelly Girardi. She's going to space.
She's gonna watch me, her mom, become an astronaut. You know, that's gonna be normal in her mind. That's just another thing moms do. Of course, they go to space. She's gonna grow up knowing that not even the sky is a limit.
We read together, we build spaceships, and look at planets.
When I think about Delta, I prefer to see, what is she naturally curious about? What does she have questions about in the world? And I think that sense of curiosity, it's like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the bigger your dreams can be.
I see beach houses all the way at the end by the ocean. Can you see the water?
I think when my mom gets to space, it's going to be really dark. And Earth is going to be really far away. She's going to see lots of stars and planets.
Time to come inside, Luna Muna, called Mommy. I wish I could fly to space. I floated up past the trees, up past the house, up past the clouds, up, up, up.
She's going to be going really, really fast. 3.5 times the speed of sound. And then she'll float. When she looks out the window, she'll see this blue marble, and that's where I'll be. I'm going to wave at her, but I don't think she'll see me. She'll glide down the runway, and we'll be waiting for her.
I think it's one of the most incredible moments in history that's happening right now. This ability to break the chains of gravity as a human being and go beyond our planet.
It's my mom's mission to make sure everyone discovers space. I can't wait to go one day.
So yeah, what do you guys think? They got a message from Lucifer and they believe it. I will ascend into heaven. I cannot believe this, you guys. Our world, they're talking about the sky is not the limit. The stars, let's reach in the stars. And this little 4-year-old girl is going to watch her mommy go up and see that blue marble and float. Now here's the sad thing. Virgin Galactic has never made it into space. Okay? She even said it, 3.5 times the speed of sound. What is that? 2,800 miles an hour? I'm not saying that's slow or something. I'm not saying I could do it. I'm saying that is just, they're just slingshotting. Like if you had a slingshot in a rock and you aimed it up in the sky, it's just going to do this ballistic arc and come back down. That's all that they're doing. Okay, so these companies like Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic, they're not going to space. They're just going really high in the sky. If they were going to space, that would be going into orbit. Like that, like you can't, they're falling back down is what I'm saying. They're not staying up there, they're falling back down. Okay. Zillian Rocha has a great comment here. Isn't there a passage somewhere it says that the noise of their chariots was heard in heaven and shook the foundations of the earth? Yes. Let's look at it. That's probably one of the most important chapters, I think, in the book of Enoch, is when he's talking about seeing men coming on the winds in these vehicles, and the vehicles were so loud that it shook and it moved the pillars of the earth out of their place. So, hey, Isabella Live 2.0, good to see you. And Zulu 1, much love and hugs, brother. And L.A. Young, or is it I.A. Young? I don't know. But good to see you. Good to see everyone. Kelly Chambers, I don't know if I said hi yet. Good to see you guys. And we're going to go to Mel Gig's channel, and we're going to look at some Starlink satellites. Because there's a lot of people who just say, well, I don't believe that they actually say, nobody's ever seen a satellite. But then when you show them footage, like I have footage of Starlink satellites on my channel that I've taken with my camera. I've taken them with my night vision scope and put them on my channel so that you can see that there are things up there without looking in the sky, because apparently today people are scared to look in the sky and actually see what's up there in the stars if they're a flat earther. I don't know why that is, but I look up there all the time with my telescopes and my cameras, and it's obvious that SpaceX is putting things into orbit and they're not on balloons. It's quite intimidating to see them. When you see something moving, when you see 52 satellites moving in the sky, like in a row, like in a line, which we're going to see on Mel Gig's channel, which let's go over there right now. And just for you guys, I'm going to put a link to Mel Gig's channel in the chat. Okay, look at this, 286 subscribers, and he's been on YouTube for a long time. He should have more than that, I think. So, let's see. Let's get a link. I think my mouse battery's dying. Let's see. Copy. Okay, I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to spam it in here a couple times. Go subscribe. He doesn't put out a lot of videos, but he puts out videos that, well, they're taken from England. The footage is taken from England. So this one is the last one I watched of his. This is Starlink Group. What is this? 4/27/19/8. Not sure what all that means, but this was their last launch, I believe. So let's take a look and see. Ooh, give him the thumb. Oop, I don't know if I caught that. I think I didn't. Okay. So this is Mel Gig. I'm not sure what camera. He probably put it in the description, but so this is. It's hard to even tell what we're looking at there, because this is 20 minutes after it launched, so they're all still like. Actually, if it's 20 minutes after they launch, it takes like 15 minutes before they let the satellites go. So this is like moments after they have released the satellite. So you should see, actually that's probably the second stage, right, Mel, if you're still here? That's probably Starlink and the second stage. But let's go to a different video, because this one I saw, it wasn't as impressive as some of his other footage. So we're going to look at just he takes some really good footage of some of the like meteors and stuff like that. Let's object transiting the moon. Oh, is that the? I think that was the Chinese space station. Okay, Starlink G4. This is 5 months ago. let's look at this one. So this is Mel's footage. He had a camera in his hand over in England, and this is what he recorded.
Oh, fuck me. Yeah.
Whoops. We'll turn the volume down, I guess. Yeah, they catch you by surprise, don't they, Mel? It's like, whoa, all of a sudden they're there. So this is obviously a good camera that he's got here. Oh, there he is there. The 4 dots are the retaining rods. The long dash are the satellites. Yeah, you could see the retaining rods. And actually, you've caught those quite a bit later, even still riding along with the satellites. But here's this here. I'm going to just turn the volume down. Okay. When you see this with your own eyes, guys, which I've seen this with my own eyes, when you see that with your own eyes in the sky, you suddenly realize that those are not on balloons. They're moving very fast. Okay, so that's the second stage. Let's see, I'll get my... Well, I think it was probably back further now. But that could be the second stage. It's hard to say. But yeah. That's some good footage, Mel. And you guys, it's not easy to get these on film. It's just not. I've tried, and it's very difficult. Oh, that's fine, Mel. I actually thought it was kind of funny, because it does surprise you. Like, whoa, wait, whoa, they're right there. Okay, so up here, I think that's probably the second stage. I'm guessing. That's what I think, but I'm not sure. So this is more than 20. This is probably like a day or two after the launch, I'm guessing, or maybe a day, because they're spread out slightly. Because it takes time for them to spread out from each other. But I'm just going to show 1 or 2 more videos, because I think it's important for people to realize that don't just to me it's like, I don't know the right way to describe it. It's irresponsible to yourself. You do yourself harm if you don't do the research to. Whoops, I'm sorry. You do yourself harm if you're not going to pay attention to this. But if you just say it's fake and just, it's fake. I don't think that is going to help you understand what is happening at all. Okay. We got an ISS transit. See, most of Mel's footage is taken of the skies. Whoops. My phone's ringing. Sorry, guys. Of course it is. Here's Starlink again. They're all over on his channel. So, oh, here, let's look at the Dragon capsule. I think this is the Dragon capsule. CRS-18. This is a SpaceX. Yeah, it would be a Dragon capsule. Look at this, you guys. You can see it. You can see its solar arrays or whatever. That's the Dragon capsule flying right after launch, right over Mel's house in England. 20 minutes after the launch. If you just wait a second, it does RCS thrusters right there. So don't say they're not putting any Dragon in the sky. It's right there on your screen. And this is Mel Gig, who is subscribed to my channel, who has his own channel and a camera, and you don't have to have a conspiracy to point your camera in the sky and film these things, okay? So anyway, thank you, Mel, for your even though we disagree, I still appreciate your footage and your channel. So let's see, why do they put so many lights on it? It seems like that thing is made to be seen. Actually, Mark, what we were watching there was 52 satellites or 60 satellites, and they launch a different amount every time or whatever, but it's around 50 or 60 satellites that are like the rocket goes up and then it simply lets them go, and then they are sitting on that, they're going that speed, that orbital velocity, and as they're going, they spread out from each other with their own little thrusters that they have. So they basically, it forms a line after a while. And actually, I'll show you what it looks like a little bit later. Let's go to my channel. Let me just go to my channel and we'll search for Starlink. I'll show you what it looks like through a night vision scope after they've spread out. Because basically what they do is they spread out far enough. Yes, Zulu 1 just said it. 100% correct. Not fake, but all lies. That's like, that sounds contradictory, but it's not. It is entirely true. It's not fake at all. None of this stuff is fake, but it's all a lie, if that makes sense. It comes from the father of lies, and it's men believing what Satan what all of us have believed it, is what I'm saying. Every single one of us has believed his lies. And I believe right now some of us are coming out of those lies. And an example would be David Weiss pointing out that, or saying that these things are fake. I agree with what he's saying, but just in a different way. I see it in a different way. And if David Weiss went to Cape Canaveral and watched one land, he'd probably look at it differently after that point too. But I don't know. So, let's see. Isabella Live, says, sorry, not very high, and I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, not very high, and when they go around for however many times until their payload is spent and they start coming down in the oceans. Actually, they pretty much stay up there. They do need, like the space station, it needs to reboost itself. Not very often, but it needs to. The orbit does decay, and it will eventually fall if they don't keep boosting it. But so there's truth in that you're saying. It does come down. Let's see here. Mel says they are just reflecting sunlight. You can watch them disappear as they go into the Earth's shadow. Yeah, and actually, you know what? I got footage of that too, of that happening with my night scope. So maybe we'll look at both of those. Let's just look at these. First, we'll look at the Starlink ones that I was telling you about after they spread out a little bit. Let's watch this. I don't know what I was saying during this or whatever, but so this is from my backyard. These are Starlink satellites flying up in the sky. And they gotta be almost over. I think I've seen about 20 of them or something. It took me a little while to get my camera set up. See how they're spread out from each other now? There's a contrail. It's actually hard to get. It's hard to get footage with the night scope because the one I have, it has a 5-time magnification on it, so it's kind of. I put my camera up to it. I do my best, but so there's some trees and stuff in the way. Sorry, it's so shaky. Okay, where does it show it better? See, this is why you gotta subscribe to Melgig. I just am not very good at this. This is like taken with my iPhone though, so it's, it is what it is. Let's see here. Okay, I think right about here you'll probably be able to see. Oh, that was Pleiades, I think think I just saw Pleiades there. Did I? Maybe not. Horrible filming, Joe. So anyway, that's one of the batches of Starlink. And they spread out so far that now, like, if you just look up at the sky anytime, if your eyes are adjusted and you look up at the sky, you'll see Starlink satellites. You'll see them. I guarantee it. And what you'll see is you'll see one pass. And then if you pay it to, there's Venus. If you pay attention to where it passes, you will just look in the same spot and the same trajectory, and you'll see another one maybe a minute later or 2 minutes later. They still stay on the same orbit. Melgig, I use a Sony A7S III or III, LLL, whatever it is, and fast f1 4 lenses. Nice. That A7's got to be a nice camera. Like for, yeah, you can see a lot with that thing. It's good at, let's see, did I show any? Okay, there's other, let's go back. I'll show you some what they look like more during the daytime. Huh, I got Melgig's channel mirrored here. I mirrored one of his videos. Here is some footage I took. This happened by chance. I didn't even know that I was gonna see them. I just had my camera out. That's Venus right there, I think. Yeah, that's Venus. There's a Starlink satellite. It just came in, and like Mel was saying, that just caught the light of the sun and reflected. So it's like you can't see them, and then all of a sudden they flare into view, and then they'll do the same thing on the way out. So I zoomed back out, there's Venus again. Now here's another one. See that? It just comes into view. Basically, it's getting into the sunlight.
There's Starlink.
So there's those. But let's see. I wanna search for ISS. I don't know if that's a good search to do. Space station. You guys know, oh, here we go. Vanishes into outer darkness. This is the one where, let's just watch it. This is what Mel was talking about. It'll just disappear because the sunlight can't hit it anymore. Okay, so here's the ISS. Let me go full screen. Sorry. I'm just gonna watch when it disappears. It's obviously not in focus, but you'll get the I can't focus it well through that scope. But you'll see it just suddenly kind of just vanish. And there it goes. See how it's dimming out? Now if we had color, it starts to turn really dark orange and dark red almost when it's doing that. But yeah, that's another thing too. It's scarlet colored, you guys. Whoops, space. I think I closed the wrong page. I must have closed Mel's page or something. What did I do? Anyway, let's just, I'll let this play in the background. And that was about really mostly what I wanted to say. The stuff they're doing is they're gathering against God. Okay, when they built the Tower of Babel. Oh, that was another thing I should mention is it was Nimrod Paul mentioned can they get through the firmament? Well, that's a big controversy in the flat earth crowd. There's so many people that say nothing can get through the firmament. And there's people that say that the firmament's made of glass. Well, I don't believe it's made of glass. I think that in Job 37:18, when it says, I can't remember exactly what it says, but it says, the sky, which is strong like a molten looking glass. It's because it's hard like that. It's hard, like so hard that to get through it, or to get from space to Earth, it's very difficult to. Thank you, Zoran, for putting Mel's channel there. I appreciate that. Melgig, that's a good point. Goes orange because it's sunset for them. And I agree with that. But the firmament, when they built the Tower of Babel, and I think we need to all pay attention to that story, if we're talking about if they can go into the firmament or through the firmament or above the firmament. Well, God himself came down to see what they were building, right? He came down from heaven and he saw what the men were doing when they were building the Tower of Babel. And what did he do? He confounded their language so that they couldn't communicate with each other and they couldn't continue building this thing, right? What did God say, though? He said, now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. He said, with one language and one tongue. Well, you guys, we have Google Translate, okay? We don't have that language barrier that God he put upon them at the Tower of Babel. We've found a way to communicate again as a worldwide, right? So God himself said nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. Do you think men imagined going to the moon? Do you think men imagine going into outer space? Of course they do. So it's not going to be restrained from them, is what I'm saying. Zulu 1 has a good question. I don't think there is space or a void beyond. He says, where are they going? Well, they're going into a place of darkness. And even if you ask NASA, like, why would they say on the International Space Station, why are they floating? Like, technically, why are they floating? They're floating because they're falling. They're free falling. So if you were to throw something into a bottomless pit of darkness, it would just fall perpetually. Kind of like the astronauts claim to be doing, and they play with their water and they drink their pee and stuff while they're up there. They're falling perpetually into a dark abyss because there is no bottom to that place. It's actually, they go sideways. They go sideways, but they're falling. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's the sides of the pit of hell. And that's how, you know how we all thought we were on a globe? And now we understand that that's just a big lie? It's the same as that. We thought the sky was, only heaven, or like only, and that hell was beneath the earth or something, or the inside of the earth or something. But it's darkness. That's what it is. It's darkness. It's a place of darkness. And even the astronauts have called it a place of death. There's nothing there but death. That was an ESA astronaut named Jacques. I can't remember his last name, but I have it on my channel somewhere. So I should have been playing this. So there's SLS. When I see SLS, I think of the armies compassed around Jerusalem. And you know what? Today, I made a decision this morning that I'm going to be going on TikTok. I'm making some TikTok videos. Haha. I just have to. Because I actually went on there and was looking There's a lot of flat Earth stuff on TikTok, you guys. A lot. Like a lot. Go over there and check it out if you haven't. There's also a lot of young girls getting the wrong idea about themselves on TikTok, which is sad. I don't even know. Okay, so this right here is at Cape Canaveral. They're building another launch tower at Cape Canaveral for the Starship. This is at NASA Kennedy Space Center. Crazy. Oh yeah, so one other thing. I got to get my my program up. Hold on. Okay. I'm going to probably end the stream here. Mark Eager says, I still do not believe that there is people in a space station. You know what? More power to you. That's we all have our own beliefs. So I think that you're in a much safer position than someone who believes that the space station is the way to the future. Put it that way. I would rather have you believe that there's nobody in there and that it's all fake. But see, the thing that the thing I guess that let's see here, let me just pause this. That goes through my mind is that there's no men faking this. If you read the Bible doesn't talk about oh, Zulu One gives me the TikTok warning. Thank you, Zulu One. I don't really think they'd be able to do much though, would they? If I just they'd probably take stuff down or whatever. Wouldn't care. I'll put it up, and if someone takes it down, I'll keep putting it up somewhere. Anyway, we're not struggling against flesh and blood. There's people that hide the truth in unrighteousness, and they lie to children, and they teach children lies, but it's because they believe those lies. Oh, Zilrin, I totally forgot to go to Enoch. What's wrong with me? Let me just close a couple of these pages. That's in Enoch 57. Let's look at that. I'll just read it here. And it came to pass after this that I saw another host of wagons, and men riding thereon, and coming on the winds from the east and from the west to the south. Oh, they're flying on a commercial jet. No. Listen to this. And the noise of their wagons was heard, and when this turmoil took place, the holy ones from heaven remarked it. So whatever vehicles these people were flying on were so loud that the angels were like alarmed. Okay, the angels remarked it. And the pillars of the earth were moved from their place, and the sound thereof was heard from one end of heaven to the other in one day. And then actually it seems like it continues in chapter 60. In that parable I saw how a mighty quaking made the heaven of heavens to quake, and the host of the Most High and the angels 1,000 thousands and 10,000 times 10,000 were disquieted with a great disquiet. Hashtag angels lives matter, guys. So no access to your privacy. You allow them access to any device. Oh, okay. They can get on all your pictures and everything on your phone, all your phone access or your phone info. Which, yeah, I can understand that could jeopardize certain things, but at the same time, I take pictures of like jobs, and like there ain't much info on my phone that they would be in. They could have all the info on my phone. I wouldn't care. They could publicize it. I wouldn't care. But yeah. And is aptly warning you. Well, thank you though, because definitely before doing something like that, a person should look into it for sure. I'm just looking at some of these comments. Thank you guys for being here and commenting. Let's see. So yeah, that was the Enoch thing. I'm going to play a short video, and then I'm going to be out of here. This is, you know that guy who owns this company called SpaceX that makes all these things? That has the idea. He came up with all this stuff, and he has an agenda. So let's see what his agenda is. Okay.
And we could resume the dream of Apollo. The goal of SpaceX really was to make as much progress as possible to advance rocket technology to the point where hopefully we can establish a colony on Mars. Dream of Apollo.
And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon.
Apollo.
Apollyon.
Apollo.
Apollyon.
And we could resume the dream of Apollo.
Okay, so can you see what he wants to do? He wants to do what Apollo started to do. I think we heard about this guy. I think we've had plenty of warnings from the book of Revelation only. I mean, just the book of Revelation tells us all about fire coming down from the sky and these beasts talking like a dragon and the dragon being cast out into the earth. I mean, we have video footage of this happening in our world, you guys. Everybody Jaron was showing it on Globebusters there, the dragon capsule being cast out into the earth. I mean, it was showing it. This happens all the time in our world. And John was writing of the time of the end. He was shown a vision of what would happen at the very end. So take that to heart. That's all I would say. Thank you, Zulu1 says all your devices, not any device, just all your devices. So that's good to know. Thank you. Yeah, Zilrin, Elon Musk's hair, she says, did he lose more hair? He has lots there. He always has a different amount of hair. I think he's got those little hair implants or something. Because when he was like 25, he was nearly bald. So, yeah, he's got a good head of hair on him. Okay, Melgig says, the intention is to build at least one starship every week to get up the fleet up to 1,000 ships to Mars. The problem, Mel, and I know we might disagree on this, but if you actually break it down honestly, it's not feasible to go to Mars even once. And the person that goes, if a person goes or tries to go, won't be coming back. And there isn't a way to stay alive on Mars. So even if you take a starship there, pack it full of food and whatever you can, you'll never make it back. You'll be, it's a life sentence is what you'll be doing. You'll be putting yourself to death because there is no way to get there fast enough to, and there's nothing there when you get there. But I don't even believe it's a place. I believe what Paul said, that it's actually evil spirits drawing down to themselves the hearts of men. Don't fall for it, Mel. Come out of it. I know you've been listening to what I've been saying here and there. Disagree, that's fine. But I do appreciate that you actually come here and hear it out sometimes. So that's awesome. Minimum turnaround time is 4 years, and that's why they need the ships. Yeah, they would have to. The problem is that they can send. This is where it gets into like a spiritual aspect. In my understanding, is that you could send all those starships there with all these, say, robots, right? And say they sent the robots and the machines that could do 3D printing of domes, and they could make a living habitat for the people when they did go. The problem is that there's no place to go. It's a light. It's a fallen angel. So now that's something our world that we grew up in taught us that's ridiculous. That the idea of angels or that there's some other realm that we don't quite understand, a spiritual realm, that doesn't exist. And what I'm saying is when we look up at the sky, all those lights, that is the spiritual realm. And those are the angels. So at least keep that in mind. That's about all I would say. But yeah, that's about all I got for today. Thank you guys for coming. And I hope David Weiss checks this video out. I know he's he knows probably exactly what I say before I say it anyway, but because Mel says we still disagree about that. That's fine. I do appreciate you coming here, though. I do. But yeah, David Weiss, for some reason, that guy is, he's a special person in my heart for some like I couldn't even really exactly tell you why. And I'll tell you what, I did meet David Weiss in person in 2018, and I gave him a hug. So he's awesome. But yeah, he has reached so many people. Like I think that I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Maybe I'm wrong, or maybe it's wrong for me to say it, but I think that he is a legend in heaven. I think the angels talk about David Weiss. I'm just saying. I think they're helping him get the message out that he needs to get out. So that's awesome. Isabella says the truth. The battle is the Lord's. So true. Thank you guys for hanging out. And actually, you know what? Let me see if I've got one more video to play on the way out. The Testament of Solomon. There's a story here about the winds and about a great pillar flying through the air. And then Solomon wrote about this. Check it out. And then I'm going to call it a day. Thank you guys for coming, and share the info. Much love.
Again, in those days, there came to me a letter from Adares, the king of the Arabians, saying, To King Solomon, greeting. We have heard of the wisdom that has been given to thee, and that thou art a compassionate man, and that thou hast power over all spirits that are in the air, or on the earth, or under the earth. Now be it known to thee that there is a destroying spirit in this land. For every day at dawn there arises a wind which blows for 3 hours, and it is so venomous that every one on whom it blows dies, and it kills the cattle also. Now therefore we entreat thee in thy wisdom to devise some means, and if it may be, send us a man who can capture the spirit. And if thou canst do so, then I and my people will be tributary unto thee, and Arabia shall keep peace with thee. And we beseech thee, make not light of our petition, for we are in a great strait. And so, farewell. When I had read this letter, I folded it up again and gave it to my chief counselor, saying, Bring it again to my remembrance after 7 days. Then I thought upon the matter, and after the 7 days I called one of my servants and said to him, Make ready a camel, and get an empty wineskin. And he did so. Now the wineskin was made of a whole hide of a beast, so that it had the upper parts of the 4 legs remaining upon it, the legs being sewn up, and the neck open. I said to him further, Take this ring, and go into Arabia, to the place where the venomous wind blows, and take the skin, and hold the ring in front of the mouth of the skin towards the wind, so that the wind shall blow through the ring. And when the skin is blown up, you will know that the demon is inside it. Then hasten and tie up the neck of the skin, and seal it with the ring, and put it upon the camel, and bring it to me. But if on the way the demon promise you gold and silver and treasures to let him go, see that you do not obey him, but rather make him reveal to you where the treasures are hid, and mark the places, and come on to me. Now go, and good success be with you. So my servant set out and came to Arabia, and the men of the country doubted much whether he could capture the spirit. But when the day was dawning, even the first day after his coming, he rose up and set the skin with its mouth towards the wind, and laid the ring in the mouth of it. And the wind blew through the ring, and entered into the skin, and puffed it up. And the man caught the neck of the skin, and closed it, and sealed it with the ring in the name of the Most High. Then he abode yet 3 days in the place to make trial of his success. But the poisonous wind blew no more, so that all the Arabians were assured that the demon was safely shut up. And they rejoiced greatly, and gave him many precious gifts, and did him great honor. And when he set forth to come back to me, they accompanied him to their borders. So he brought the skin back to Jerusalem, and put it in the midst of the temple. Now at this time I, Solomon, was somewhat troubled, because I had a great stone made ready to be placed upon the corner of the temple, and none of my workmen and none of the demons were able to lift it and set it in its appointed place. But I was exceedingly desirous to put it there, because it was of such beauty and excellence. And on the morning after my servant was come back out of Arabia, I went down to the temple, thinking by what means I could lift the stone. And as I entered the temple, I saw the skin, and it rose up and hopped 7 paces, and fell on its face, and did obeisance to me. And I marveled, and bade it stand up, and it stood on its feet, puffed up with wind. Then I asked, Who are you? And a voice answered me from within the skin, I am Ephippus, who dwell in Arabia. And I said, What can you do? And it answered, I can overturn kings' palaces, and wither the green trees of the wood, and I can move mountains. Then I said, Are you able to move this stone, and lift it up, and set it upon the corner of the temple? And it said, Not only can I do so, O king, but if I have the demon that is in the Red Sea to help me, I can bring up the great pillar that is there, and set it in whatever place you command. So I said, Lift up the cornerstone. And the skin first of all became flattened, as if the wind was gone out of it, and slipped itself under the stone, and then it blew itself out again, so that the stone was lifted up upon its back, and it walked upon its stumps, bearing the stone to the ladder, and climbed up, and set the stone safely in its place upon the corner of the temple. And I was greatly rejoiced, and all Jerusalem with me. After that I sent Ephippus to fetch to me the demon that is in the Red Sea, and commanded them to bring with them the great pillar. And after a while I saw the pillar being borne through the air, and was astonished at the strength of the 2 demons. And when I considered with myself how mighty they were, and how they could shake the whole world in a moment of time, I feared to let them go. I made therefore a circle about them in the air with my ring, and said, Stay there. And the demons stayed, holding the pillar sloping between heaven and earth. And there they are to this day. And if anyone looks, he can see the pillar sloping in the heavens, but the demons he cannot see. But when they let fall the pillar, then will be the end of the world.
To blaspheme his name, and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven.
And if anyone looks, he can see the pillar sloping in the heavens, but the demons he cannot see. But when they let fall the pillar, then will be the end of the world. And if anyone looks, he can see the pillar sloping in the heavens, but the demons he cannot see. But when they let fall the pillar, then will be the end of the world.